Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and this is my granny era. Today I am doing the reader's profile tag. I was tagged by Uncommon Reader. Hi Daniela. And this tag was originally created by Hillary B. Green. So there are 10 questions in this one. So this one kind of talks a little about me and then also about books that I enjoy. So let's get right into it. Number one, what makes for you a good book? I would say if I had to sort of pick between a well-written book or a story that I liked, I would choose a well-written book. And I've had the opportunity actually to sort of test this out lately because I've been reading, and I'll talk a little bit more about her in a minute, but Emily St. John Mandel. I've been reading a few books by her lately, and they are not stories that I normally would look for. There's like sci-fi, apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic sort of plague books. Not at all things that I normally would look for or be interested in. However, she is such a fantastic storyteller that I will just read anything she puts out, I think. I recently read her book called The Glass Hotel, and it's all about, like, I don't know, like corporate stuff, financial, like, swindlings and women who, you know, shop at really fancy places. It's kind of like elite people. I don't know, just stuff that I'm not interested in, I know nothing about, and wouldn't normally pick up a book like that. But her storytelling is so fantastic that it was unputdownable, right? I picked it up, started reading, just really couldn't put it down unless I absolutely had to. So yeah, a well-written book is a good book in my opinion. Number two, what are you currently reading? So at the time of the making of this video, I am currently reading Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. I am probably going to put this video up next week though, so I'll be reading something completely different. But this is a book that takes place off the coast of California in the mid-1800s. There is a young girl who is left alone on an island, and we're going to find out what happens. So I'm not very far into it. I'll probably be finishing it this evening, but I am enjoying it. It's a good story. My daughter recommended that to me. Number three, what is the last book you didn't finish and why? So that would be The Sherlockian. This is a book that I picked up for February for Holmes is Where the Heart Is. It's a fictional story. It basically is like a fictional story around Arthur Conan Doyle's fictional diary, I guess, or papers that explain why he killed off Sherlock Holmes, why he brought him back. It just kind of solves some of that mystery. I didn't get super far into it before deciding to DNF it. The story was just kind of taking a really long time to go anywhere. And I was already kind of irritated because I had just finished reading a biography of Conan Doyle and realized that I actually don't like him at all. And so then to read this story about a whole bunch of people who were like his fan club and all of their, you know, things that they got involved in, I was like, I don't want to read this because I don't like him. So I don't agree with their fanaticism over him, whatever. So I ended up just DNFing it. So far, I've read 2 Sherlock Holmes books and liked them. So far I like Sherlock Holmes, but I do not care for his creator. All right, what are we on? Okay, number 4. What obscure book do you wish other people would read? That would be A Spinner in the Sun by Myrtle Reed. I talked about this a few months ago. It was a book that I don't even know how I got a hold of this book or who recommended it to me. It was on somebody's list and I was like, oh, I'm going to read that. It is sort of an obscure Victorian story. It's one of those Victorian moral tales. And it has the craziest plot twist in it. I don't know, it just really shocked me. After talking to other people who read it after me on my recommendation, it doesn't seem like everybody else was like as thrilled about it as I was, but I was just blown away by the plot twist in this story. And I guess I just wasn't expecting it or something, but I loved that story and I thought it was a really great, you know, little book for all of its Victorian moralizing. So look for A Spinner in the Sun by Myrtle Reed if you are into that sort of thing. Okay, number 5. What's the longest book you have ever read? That would be London by Edward Rutherford. It is 1,124 pages, the book, the version that I have anyway. A little paperback, but like that thick. And I read that, I don't know, sometime in the last 5 years. I love his stories. I just finished his book on New York that came in at like 860 something. That was my book for March of the Mammoth. Just such a great storyteller. But yeah, he writes really huge books. Number 6, if you could have a dinner party with 5 fictional characters, who would they be? This was a hard one, but I think if I had like Frodo, Merry, Pippin, Sam, and then like Gandalf or Aragorn, can't decide between the two. I think I would get some really fun and funny stories, some adventure stories. I would probably just like sit back and let them talk and laugh at all of their adventures that they got into. Those are characters from The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, if you're not familiar. I think that would be fun. All right, number 7, 5 books you would want if you were stranded on a desert island. Again, I really had to think this one through because like there's the like obvious, I would like a manual on how to survive on a desert island. But I think that would kind of be cheating. So instead, I said Robinson Crusoe because Robinson Crusoe really does give a really great account of the things that he did to survive on his island. And so I'm only, how far am I into Robinson Crusoe? I'm probably a third of the way through Robinson Crusoe. So I don't know what happens at the end, don't tell me, but he's giving a lot of great advice about things that he's doing. So Robinson Crusoe, and then the Bible, a world atlas, just because when I read about certain things, I like to look them up, right? And then 2 other books of gigantic information. So one would be Grimm's Fairy Tales, because there's tons and tons and tons of stories in there. Thus, the World Atlas, because I like to read about a place, right? And then I'm going to look it up. And then this really obscure book called The Cowles Comprehensive Encyclopedia of 1967. This book it's from my childhood. My parents had this book. I loved this book. Me and my brother, we were obsessed with this book. There was so much good information in it and like plenty of outdated information, but it's just like this massive, huge encyclopedia of information. So it would take me a really long time to go through that if I was on a desert island even. So I'd like to have those. Those are the ones. Number 8, 1 book you could not put down. Again, those were the books by Emily St. John Mandel. I came into contact with her for the first time when I found her book, Station 11, at a book sale. And sounded kind of interesting, picked it up, loved it, just like devoured it as fast as possible. So then I looked for her other books. I found a couple at Barnes & Noble. So I read The Glass Hotel and then City of Tranquility. And all 3 of those, she is such a great storyteller. But again, not stuff that I was normally would be looking for or be into. But because she was such a great storyteller, like I was able to get through the books and super fast. Like I really just could not put them down. Number 9, 5 books or authors that you would never read. Okay, so I'm only thinking of ones that I have actually read stuff by them. So this is more like authors I would never read again. Number 1, Samuel Richardson. He wrote Pamela. I read part of Pamela. It's horrific. I would highly not recommend reading Pamela. She just is with this really toxic guy and can't seem to see that. And then, doesn't ever see that. It doesn't seem. So Samuel Richardson is out. Lucy Worsley is out. I have read her biography of Jane Austen, her biography of Agatha Christie. In both cases, I felt like she was trying to change who they actually clearly are from their own words, their own mouth, their own biographies or biographical writings, letters, that kind of thing. I don't know. I think that Lucy Worsley is just trying to discover something new, and I do not prefer her. So she's out. Charles Kingsley is out. I did not enjoy The Water Babies at all. It was just, no, did not enjoy that. Did not enjoy his other book that I was actually reading with one of my kids for school. Not necessarily to get a whole lot of great factual information, because the book is called Madam How and Lady Why. And it's not full of a whole lot of like current factual information, but just to one, get a feel for like what people thought in his day about the world and geography and such. But it does have some good accounts of different things that happened, like volcano eruptions and stuff that happened during his time or shortly before his time. And it was meant, I guess, to be like a sort of geography-ish book in the time that he wrote it, but I don't prefer him as an author at all. So Charles Kingsley is out. Virginia Woolf is out. I've read several books by her, and I just see her as kind of like a wannabe philosopher. Like, she's got ideas, but she's got nothing. She got no facts to back these things up. I think she was really out of touch. She came up with whole doctrines that just fall apart when you actually like think about it. Her whole A Room of One's Own thing completely falls apart. Like, all the arguments she makes in there, they just falls apart when you actually study the history of women authors. Women wrote all through history in all kinds of situations and all kinds of home lives. They were published. They were respected in many cases. And I think she just had a really narrow view. She talks about, what if Shakespeare had a sister who wrote? There's all kinds of women authors from that time period and before, medieval women writers. Like, I just feel like she was just so out of touch and sort of maybe going off on things that she didn't quite understand. And I just feel like that every time I read her stuff. She lived a little bubble and didn't want to actually believe that she didn't. I don't know. She just, she bugs me really bad. I think that's only 4. But yeah, Virginia Woolf, she is out. All right, number 10. If you were to write a book, what would it be about? So there's all kinds of things that I probably could write a book about, things that involve my own lifestyle, like big family parenting and homeschooling and that kind of stuff. But it's just not something I'm super passionate about. I'm kind of over it. No, I'm not. But it's been a long 27 years. I think what I'd really enjoy writing about, if I feel like I could, would be a historical fiction, maybe something that takes place in the Pacific Northwest. I have a few stories that I've started that take place in the Pacific Northwest, in kind of more like a Victorian Edwardian era. And I just haven't ever really gone anywhere with them, but I really don't feel like I'm a great descriptive writer. I'm much better at technical nonfiction type writing. Like, I'm way better at writing a factual book, which I'm actually in the middle of doing right now and have written tons of stuff like that before. I can write you up really great stuff if you give me like, hey, I want you to talk about these 5 facts, right? But trying to be imaginative, not so much. I'm not so great at that. I wish I was. All right, and then the last question is just to tag others, which I will do in the description box below. I hope you guys enjoyed this tag. I guess I did make it a little bit silly, but hope you guys are all doing well, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.